Chapter 9, Revealing Jimmy's Plan to Trick the Villains. Hold your nose. Billy popped a clove of garlic into his mouth, ground in between his teeth, and helped himself to a veal pie. Nothing like garlic to clear the head and fend off plague. Cutwater, give the lads a ration of breakfast. The scrawny outlaw sliced two thick pieces of coarse bread. He draped a salt herring across his slice. Eat hearty, little fellers. This smelly stuff, Prince Brat glared at the bread and herring. It's not fit for flies. Why, we eat regular worms all day, said Cutwater, picking the bones out of the pheasant. I'll starve first. Suit yourself, Cutwater snickered. This is the first time we feasted off the king's own table, and there's hardly enough for me and Billy. Jimmy sat on the bed straw beside the prince and contemplated his breakfast. He examined the bread closely, hunting for varmints. The prince, he knew, had never been starved before to pick out wildlife from his grub. Eat, he whispered. I can't find any crawly things in it. The bread's stale, grumbled the prince. Stale enough to patch a roof, but I've scoffed down worse. The prince began to nibble around the edges. Hold your nose, Billy glanced over and grinned. Take a chaw of garlic, whipping boy. It'll prove the taste considerable. Cutwater wiped his thin, greasy lips with the back of his hand. Billy, how do we know the prince ain't laid a trap for us in the message? He could have said one thing and wrote another. Will we find someone to read it off to us? Jimmy lifted his chin to a regal height. You doubt the word and honor of a prince? Insolent. Oafs. Curs. I'll have you horsewhipped. Cutwater yanked Jimmy to his feet. Who you calling them names? I'll flog your hide pink as a salmon. Hold your nose. Billy pushed him aside. Keep your wits. It's worse than common murder to lay hands on a prince. No need to break any more of the king's laws when we have to. If it comes to a flogging, there's his whipping boy. The prince's eyes widened and his face blanched white. The prospect of taking a whipping himself had never occurred to him. But, sir, it wasn't me who called you names. Cutwater gave a sudden cackle. Sir, is it now? That's more like it. But tell the prince here to keep a civil tongue in his head. Prince Brat shot Jimmy a poisonous look. The garlicky outlaw was leaning closer to Jimmy. See here, Prince, it's not that we doubt your word and honesty. Not a bit. But all the same, let's hear you read the message. Jimmy turned away from the man's breath and began to read. No, lad. Let's have it from the bottom to the top. Read it backwards. I do hope for your whipping boy's sake, you don't stumble and trip as if its real words ain't on paper. Jimmy shrugged. It says, son obedient your obedient son, said Hold Your Nose Billy. Keep at it. Jewels and gold of cart full of ransom, a demand they. They demand a ransom of a cart a full. The outlaw himself began to stumble and trip over the words. Aye, that's the ticket. Jimmy read the message through backward, and then a second time before the hairy outlaw was satisfied. Now then, he said, all we gotta do is get this message to the king without getting nabbed in the act. Simple, declared Jimmy. Send it to the castle in the hands of my whipping boy. Chapter 10, in which Prince Brat lives up to his name. Hold your nose, Billy, clapped a leery eye on the rat catcher's son. Prince, do you take me for a precious fool? Send your whipping boy to blab out where we're hid, eh? The king will come chopping down every tree if he finds out we're nested in the forest. Jimmy assumed a princely air of indifference. Then tote the message yourself. It's no skin off my ear if you ever get back alive. He filled his mouth with bread and herring. I declare, this is tasty. Prince Brat scoffed under his breath. He hadn't shown a moment's interest in Jimmy's scheme to free him. Their eyes met and clashed. Gaw, Jimmy thought. He's funny like a stovepipe at being unprinced. He'll have me charged with treason. I'll stand guard over the prince, said Cutwater. You're the one to go, Billy. Me, hooted the big man. Me, that they sing songs about and pinch their noses? At first whiff of garlic, it would be off with the head of Hold Your Nose Billy. Unlikely, corrected Jimmy. True, Papa would have you tortured a mite and loosen your tongue, but he wouldn't have your head, not Papa. He favors slow boiling in oil. The effect on the outlaws was instant. Hold Your Nose Billy jaw dropped. Sweat broke out across his face like raindrops. Cutwater, you're skin and bones. You could slip in and out of a keyhole. I'll guard the prince. Faw, Billy. I don't fancy being boiled to a crisp. The hairy outlaw gave a loud and decisive snort. We'll send the whipping boy. Jimmy held back a sigh of relief, and my crown with him. Your golden crown, blurted out Cutwater. Not by half, we won't. Jimmy made the pretense of blazing up with impatience. Simpleton. I swear there are not two more ignorant, cloven-footed blockheads in this land. Prince Brat shot Jimmy a quick thunder-scowl look. Stop it, he whispered harshly. Don't give them the rough side of your tongue. You'll get me whipped. Jimmy ignored him. Donkeys, he continued. Before the day is out, dozens of villains will be liver up false claims. Only my crown will convince Papa that you are the genuine villain. Hold Your Nose Billy began to pace, munching garlic cloves as if they were grapes. Finally, he tipped the crown of his head and flung it to Prince Brat. Whipping boy, deliver it to the king. If he doesn't follow our instructions to the letter, the prince will be done for, Cutwater snickered, drawing a knife-like finger across his throat. And blab all you want, added the other outlaw. We'll pack the prince off to a different hiding place. By its smelly tail, Prince Brat tossed aside the uneaten herring. Without showing the slightest concern for Jimmy's fate, he flicked a glance at the two outlaws. I'll deliver nothing, he exploded. I won't go back to the castle.